My name is Rachel. I am 31 years old. I live with my husband, Thomas. He is 33. We have been married for 6 years. For a long time, we dreamed of having a child. But the years passed, and nothing happened. Every month ended in disappointment. I cried many nights, thinking maybe I would never become a mother. Then, one spring morning, everything changed. I took a small test in the bathroom. My hands were shaking as I waited for the result. When I saw the 2 lines, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was pregnant. I told Thomas that evening. His reaction surprised me. At first, he froze, staring at me with wide eyes. Then suddenly, he grabbed me in his arms, almost too tightly. He laughed, he cried, he kissed me again and again. "You don't know what this means to me," he whispered. His voice was trembling. I smiled through my own tears, but in my heart, something felt strange. His joy was too big, too heavy, almost desperate. I told myself it was because he had waited so long. But deep down, I felt a shadow. 9 months later, our child was born. It was a long night of pain, sweat, and fear, but when I finally heard the baby's cry, my heart overflowed. The nurse placed the tiny bundle in my arms. I looked at his face, red and soft, his little hands moving weakly. Tears rolled down my cheeks. "My baby," I whispered. Thomas stood beside me. His eyes filled with tears too, but something about his expression unsettled me. He smiled, yes, but his smile trembled. His hands shook as he touched the baby's head. He said, "He's perfect," but his eyes flickered away from mine. Our families came the next day. Everyone congratulated us. They brought flowers, toys, and blankets. My mother kissed my forehead. My father held the baby proudly. Thomas's parents hugged him tightly. But as the hours passed, I noticed things. A cousin leaned toward another and whispered. 2 aunts exchanged a strange glance. I asked what was wrong, but they quickly smiled and said, "Nothing, nothing." I tried to ignore it, but inside, I felt uneasy. Why were people looking at my baby like that? Why did Thomas keep avoiding my eyes? That night, as the hospital grew quiet, I lay in bed watching Thomas. He sat in the chair, staring at the baby with a face I couldn't read. Pride, fear, or something else? A question formed in my heart, one I didn't dare speak aloud. We brought the baby home after 3 days. The house felt alive in a new way. Every cry, every soft breath filled the rooms with warmth. I wanted to hold him all the time, to kiss his tiny fingers and smell his soft hair. Neighbors and relatives visited often. They brought gifts and food, smiling as they peeked into the cradle. But not all the smiles were the same. Some were warm, but others, cautious. One afternoon, as I poured tea in the kitchen, I heard a neighbor whisper to my sister, "Doesn't he look just like?" Her voice dropped, and I couldn't hear the name. When I entered the room, both of them smiled quickly and changed the subject. I laughed it off, but inside, my heart tightened. Who did my baby look like? Why couldn't they finish their sentence? That night, as I walked past the study, I stopped. The door was half open. Thomas was inside, speaking in a low, urgent voice on the phone. "I can't keep this forever," he whispered. "She deserves to know the truth. But if I tell her now, it will break everything." My hand froze on the doorframe. My chest pounded. Who was he talking about? What truth was he hiding from me? I tiptoed back to the bedroom, trying not to cry. I looked at my baby sleeping peacefully, innocent and pure. Yet behind his tiny breaths, a storm of questions roared in my heart. The next morning, Thomas left early for work. He kissed my forehead, but his lips felt cold, distant. I sat at the table long after he was gone, the echo of his phone call still playing in my mind. She deserves to know the truth. What truth? While cleaning later that day, I found his briefcase still in the corner. Normally, he never forgot it. Something inside told me to look. My hands shook as I opened the latch. At first, I saw only papers, bills, receipts, office notes. Then, tucked inside a folder, I found an envelope with the logo of a medical laboratory. My heart stopped. I pulled it out and opened it carefully. Inside was a printed sheet. At the top, it read, "Paternity test result." My vision blurred. I forced myself to read. The baby's name was listed. My name was there too. And under alleged father, Thomas Carter. Below that, a single line, probability of paternity, 0%. The paper fell from my hands. I couldn't breathe. He had taken our baby's DNA. Without telling me. Without asking me. He had tested if the child was his. And the result said he wasn't. I sank to the floor, holding my head. Questions screamed inside me. Why didn't he trust me? Why did he test without speaking to me? And most of all, how could this be possible? My baby was mine. But was he truly Thomas's? That evening, when Thomas came home, I was waiting for him. The envelope lay on the table between us. My hands were clenched together, my heart pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. He looked at the paper, and all the color drained from his face. "Rachel," he whispered, but no more words came. "Why?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Why would you do this behind my back? Why would you test our baby without even telling me?" His eyes filled with tears. He sank into the chair, burying his face in his hands. For a long time, he said nothing. Only silence and the sound of my baby crying softly in the next room. Finally, he lifted his head. "Because I already knew," he said hoarsely. I froze. Knew what? He swallowed hard. "The baby isn't mine." The words cut through me like a knife. I shook my head violently. No, that's not true. How could you say that? He's your son." Tears spilled down his cheeks. I wanted to believe that. I tried to pretend. But Rachel, the test proves it. I knew before he was born. I've known for months. My whole body trembled. "Then why didn't you tell me? Why did you smile? Why did you hold him? Why did you let me believe we were a family?" "Because I love you," he whispered. And I was terrified. I thought if I stayed silent, I could keep us together. I thought silence was safer than the truth. I stared at him through my tears, my world collapsing. My marriage, my child, my life, everything I believed in shattered with those words. I felt like the ground under me was gone. My baby, my husband, my life. All of it was breaking. "Thomas," I whispered through tears, "what are you saying? Do you think I betrayed you?" He shook his head slowly. "No, Rachel. That's the worst part. I don't believe you cheated. I know you didn't." I blinked, confused. "Then how can you say he isn't yours?" Thomas looked down, his hands gripping the edge of the table. His voice was barely more than a whisper. "Because I can't have children." The room fell silent. I stared at him, waiting for him to laugh, to say he was lying. But he didn't. His shoulders shook as he continued. "Years ago, before we married, the doctors told me the truth. I was infertile. I thought maybe the tests were wrong. But deep inside, I knew. I kept it from you, Rachel, because I was afraid. I wanted a normal life, a marriage, a family. I wanted you. And I thought, maybe if I stayed silent, we could still have happiness." My chest tightened. "You knew. You knew all these years and never told me. You let me dream, let me pray, let me cry every month thinking something was wrong with me. And all this time, it was you." Tears streamed down his face. "I'm sorry. I was selfish. When you told me you were pregnant, I should have confessed. But I was weak. I wanted to believe the impossible, that maybe the doctors were wrong, that maybe this miracle was mine. But the test confirmed what I feared. The baby is not mine." I clutched my chest, gasping. My baby was innocent, but my husband's silence had poisoned everything. Love, trust, hope, all shattered by a truth he had buried for years. I sat in silence, holding my baby in my arms. His tiny eyes blinked at me, his lips forming soft little sounds. He was innocent. He knew nothing of secrets, lies, or pain. Yet his very existence had torn open the truth my husband had buried. Thomas stood across from me, his face pale, his hands trembling. He whispered again, "I'm sorry, Rachel. Please believe me. I never wanted to hurt you. I just didn't know how to tell you. I thought silence would protect us." I shook my head slowly. "Silence doesn't protect love, Thomas. It kills it. You didn't just hide the truth about yourself. You let me carry guilt for years, thinking the problem was mine. You let me cry alone, believing I was broken." My voice cracked, and tears poured down my face. He reached out, but I stepped back. "This child is not your blood, but he is still my son. He needs love, he needs a father. But more than that, I need truth. I need trust. And you gave me neither." The room was quiet except for the baby's soft breathing. My heart ached, torn between anger and the love I once felt for the man in front of me. Maybe one day, forgiveness would come. Maybe we could rebuild something new. Or maybe this was the end. I didn't have the answer yet. But I knew one thing with certainty: the baby was not guilty. He deserved a future without lies. As I rocked him gently, I whispered, "You are mine. And I will protect you." In that moment, I realized the hardest truth is not about love itself, but about honesty. Without it, even the strongest love cannot survive. What would you do if the child you loved carried a truth that broke your marriage? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you liked this story, please like, share, and subscribe.